Hello everybody, welcome to another daily episode of gaming news and all that good stuff. Today I'm going to continue to cover some CES stuff. I will try to cover like one topic at a time, so I don't spread out too thin, and try to give you the best details that I got from that topic. Today I'm focusing on AMD announcements. They brought a lot of stuff here from their event, especially the Ryzen 7000X3D V-Cache series. The previous generation brought the only one CPU, the 5800X3D. And in this generation, they are going to bring three CPUs. Basically, it's going to be a new one, the 7800X3D, and then the top ones, 7900 and 7950X3D. What they do, it's increase the cache memory, L2 and L3. They just announced the total total cache on those levels, and from what I gathered, because this is a chiplet design and there are two chiplets on this new generation of processors, they only increase the cache on one of them, mainly because it's more advantageous to do it like this, basically because this cache is usually it's more advantageous when it does, for example, for gaming or specific application that uses or doesn't use per se all the cores. It's better this way. That's why the 5800X3D, it's very good for gaming because it utilizes, and it should be replicated here on these new processors, because the cache itself, it's used for the processing all the frames and all the game engine stuff, while the other chiplet might do some background stuff. It's not comparable, but I think we might see it as like the Intel. They have the two thingies, the cores is like performance cores and economic cores, something like that. I don't know very well that understand very well that technology, but I think it's like the same. So one chiplet, it's like the top performance for gaming and applications that need this kind of cache here, and the other one can be utilized basically in background tasks. It's what I get from this, and I hope I'm right. I'm not an engineer, but it's from what I get. And they claim, of course, all the claims that they do in these announcements, we have to take it with a grain of salt, around 21 to 30% higher performance, at least in 1080p, which is usually the bottleneck regarding gaming, because they focus a little bit on gaming. Regarding the 13900K, which is like the top performer per se of gaming CPUs. And usually 1080p, it's the one that stress out more the CPU and not the GPU. That's why they usually put this resolution on gaming when they go about performance in CPUs, which is usually the bottleneck. Which it is very good news. You can see the illustration here. This supposedly is the cache, the extra cache is here on this chiplet here. And they launch also the non-X. They announced, the non-X CPUs. They will come out in February. Some of them, I think, the non-X will come in February, if I'm not mistaken, and the other ones should be coming also very soon. But the 3D cache CPUs don't have like MSRP. Should be. That's why they are launching later. I don't know if they are expecting anything from Intel, so they can like price it more aggressively and competitive with Intel. But the non-X, they are basically launching at the MSRP of what the X CPUs are at the moment, because they came down in the holidays. I mentioned this like 3 weeks ago. They basically did like a promo holiday, and they are now very, very competitive in terms of pricing. The non-X are very good because they basically are cheaper, but they can, to a certain extent, be overclocked to achieve similar performance to the X ones. And of course, the X3D are not on the range of any of these CPUs, the X and the non-X, but they supposedly the MSRP of the non-X will be like cheaper. I don't know how much per se. Around $230. In this case, the 7600 and the 7600X. It's basically at this moment around this price. It's not very far from this price. I think it's around 235, 240, give or take, and should go up a little bit more. So you have some spaces here in terms of price brackets here, so they can, to a certain point, compete between themselves to a certain point, so they don't overlap on price targets, and to be aggressive regarding Intel. Intel at the moment, when this AMD, I think this year for AMD is going to be very, very good for CPUs. For the platform itself, the AM5, we will see, because I didn't see anything regarding the motherboards, because the main cost of this new platform, it's the motherboards and the DDR5 memory modules. They are way expensive to a certain point. If you are building or upgrading, it's a lot of money to consider if you want to upgrade. And at the moment, some 13 and even 12th gen, they can accept still the DDR4 and the socket. It's basically the same. So if you want to upgrade your CPU, you can basically maintain your DDR and your motherboard to a certain extent if they are compatible in terms of BIOS and everything, and the socket. And that brings some pressure on AMD. I don't know if when they launch maybe the non-X's, or when they launch the 3D versions of these CPUs, if they will do some updates on MSRPs on the motherboards. I'm not sure. Because I don't think they can control to a certain extent the DDR5, even though the DDR5 is slowly coming a little bit lower, but because of the logistics points and how things work regarding memory chips, I don't know if it's going to have a bump here because inflation and everything. I don't know if it's going to have any any alterations regarding this. But still, it's very good news, because AMD is being a little bit aggressive here on the desktop market. So they are presenting lower prices on non-X CPUs, and this non-X can deliver if they all are overclocked. And they bring also, I forgot, these non-X versions, they will bring coolers. So you don't need to buy an extra cooler if you don't have like a compatible cooler, and the coolers are very, very decent, and they are more aggressively priced to compete with Intel, which is good news, because Intel, I don't think, have anything that can compete with any of these this year. I saw some leaks regarding, for example, GPUs. They are not going to launch Battle Mage supposedly until next year. They're going to do some refreshes on their launch on the first architecture, the A1. I don't understand very well how they are named, the naming schemes and everything, but they are going to update, but only in the second half of this year. They are going to launch more stuff from I think it's Archmage, from what I know. Regarding GPUs, but CPUs, they are very limited, because they stagnated a lot in the past 2 years. They were caught off guard, especially now with this chiplet design that AMD implemented, and I think they got too much comfortable of having market dominance on the desktop side, and I don't think they were counting on this new Ryzen this generation, sorry, the Zen 4 generation to be that good, you know, in terms of scalability and how the chiplet designs can be very, very good in terms of upscaling, because they are cheaper to manufacture, and they can, it's like they have the wafers when they are built, they can get more chips per wafer, so it makes it to a certain point cheaper, and they manage to scale up with the chiplet design. Is just put more chiplets and you increase performance to a certain extent. So it's very interesting technology how they go about it. And Intel, it's just putting power to brute force in terms of performance when it comes trying to compete with the AMD. Which when reached to a certain point, you cannot put more power, or else components start to melt, which is usually not a good thing. That's why the AMD is very good, because they don't, in terms of power to performance, they beat Intel in almost anything, because they can almost basically compete in terms of performance, but usually they spend almost half of the energy to bring you almost the same performance, which is very good. And by the end of the month, when you pay the bills, if you spend a lot or you need to spend a lot of time on your PC, it's better news than to have to spend more money in your utility bills. They also in this event managed to launch for the laptop stuff. It's more confusing, the naming scheme, because there is some how do I say it? There is some Zen architectures, previous Zen architectures, they are that came out in these new announcements. So basically the lower tiers, they might have still Zen 3 or Zen 3 Plus or even Zen 2 architecture CPUs that only support, for example, DDR4, and the naming scheme itself, it's a little bit complicated, but from what I get, the best ones are the 7000 for not 45, the 40 series. They seem way better. I will not get in too much here because the naming scheme is very confusing even for me. But from what I get, they are very, very competitive with, even in laptop design, even with integrated graphics on their CPUs. They are very, very good because they can put RDNA3, which is the RX 7900 series kind of architecture. They managed to put that also in the integrated chip for some laptops. And they are still manufacturing 4 nanometers, which is way, it's very good because in a laptop you have very limited space where you can, and even power draws and battery consumption. All this comes into play when you have a laptop, especially on like the manufacturing technology. And also in terms of performance, when it comes, for example, for them in RDNA3 technology, and especially, of course, the Zen 4, they are more power to performance. They are basically better than the previous generation. And as you can see, they claim around performance-wise almost around 50%. Take it with a grain of salt. But they are very, very good. I think this year is going to be a very good year for AMD because they are able to put these mobile CPUs, and especially the lower tiers. They are still from previous generation. They are very good in terms of battery performance. They don't drain batteries that much. And Zen 3 Plus, Zen 3 especially, they are very good. The series, the previous ones, the 5700, I think, U series CPUs, they were very good. They perform very good, and the battery lasts a little bit better than the Intel counterparts. And as you can see, the naming scheme here, the 720, 730, 735, 740, the 740 series, I think it's the better one in terms of price to performance and everything. and then you have the top tier, the 7045 series. It's a lot of stuff here. I will leave all the links for the articles in the description, you know, if you want to go through a little bit more. But the overall take that I get here, it's basically AMD is going to win a little bit of the market share, which is good because it's increased the pressure on Intel to do better of what they are been doing now, and it's good for the customer because these new CPUs with and some of them with the integrated graphics processing units, usually from AMD they are very good, and they improved even more with implementing these new architectures they launched like the last year, by the end of the year, with that, they also announced RDN3 graphics for laptops, which are the discrete GPUs. I leave it here, the tables here. Supposedly they are better than the previous generation, of course, and I think they are very competitive. They especially are trying to beat in terms of performance-wise regarding the 3060 desktop GPUs in terms of performance, which is... it's quite a feat when you put this kind of performance on a laptop, especially because of power draws and battery life and all that jazz. But yeah, I'll leave it here. They have a lot of mobile a lot of mobile GPUs. They basically refreshed the 6000 series, and they are introducing also the new 7000 series for these mobile GPUs. I'll leave the description here, the link on the description. But basically the overall take from AMD, they are supposedly they are going to do very, very good because they are this year, because they don't Intel doesn't have basically a lot of competition to give. They bring up the A game AMD, and I think they're going to have a lot of market share take from Intel regarding laptop processors from that have from laptops that have Intel processors. Sorry. And we'll see. I just hope this doesn't backfire and that Intel can bring up a little bit their game up to compete with AMD until, like, for example, till the end of the year and the beginning of next year, so we can see more and better and cheaper laptops for everyone. Basically, from this is the main take. So again, the Ryzen 7000 desktop CPUs, the Non-X and the 3D cache, free versions, very good. They increased a lot of the cache. It's going to be excellent for gamers because they managed to supposedly be around 25 to 30% better than the 13900 Intel CPUs, which are the king of the gaming scene. And also the CPUs for laptops and also GPUs for laptops. In other news from CES, Kunamy Master did their lineup, which are including, they are going to be on the game of pre-built gaming PCs, and with that they bring new cases. They have this kind of modding scene which has a shark and a sneaker, but that doesn't mean anything. They introduce new coolers, peripherals and more. The main thing here that I got, it's the pre-built. They are this is like a mini ITX case, I think, and they presented also this one with an interesting technology. I think this is a mid case, like an ATX case with water cooling already included. And basically what it does, this is like the pump, and basically the radiator is the panels itself, which is very interesting how they're going about it. I don't know how, in terms of performance, what it is, the performance wise in terms of cooling, what they are going to introduce here, and how, for example, the cooling, if it is like basically dependent on passive cooling. As you can see here, basically the radiator is the panel. I don't know if it is basically only passive cooling and they have like down to up airflow system here, and then they are basically dependent on the fact that there is a current of air here to, I don't know, cool the liquid here. I don't know how you're going to be going about it. I will try to get more details about it. But it's very interesting technology they are presenting here. Of course, they are power supply manufacturers. They are bringing more stuff here with already support ATX 3.0, which is for the one of the things is the native connector for the new NVIDIA, the 12 volt whatever it is power connector, and also they brought here like a charger also, like I don't know, it's USB-C until up to 65 watts I think, and it serves also like a power bank here. The coolers, CPU coolers, I always like their coolers in broad sense of things, so they are bringing new coolers and CPU coolers, and also the big ones, very Noctua style cooler, but as long as it's cheap and performs well, it's what matters to me. And they also do some water cooling here, some fans. They also introduced here the basically like a portable storage drive for M.2 drives. So it's like a passive cooler here, so you encase the M.2 to here, and basically the case will passively cool the SSD itself. I don't know how it works very well, because usually this M.2 sometimes, if you don't have active cooling, they can overheat. I don't know. I suppose it will work, because unless they will not launch these products. I saw that they also made a refresh from TD500 mesh case. I think it's one of the best performance from the last years. I'm not very fan of the design here, but yeah. What else they did? Yeah, I remember now this haptic chamber or whatever they want to call it here, plus some chairs, gaming chairs. I think they have like haptic feedback and whatever it is here, a lot of gimmicky stuff for me, and racing I don't know, frame where you can mount everything for racing, like almost like a pod. But yeah, they usually bring up good stuff, especially on the case department, power supplies, fans and coolers. They are 40 years on the gaming scene, so I until recently I always bought everything Cooler Master regarding PSUs, cases, coolers. I bought everything Cooler Master because it's one of the most reliable, and at the time in my market, the European market, was one of the best in the game at the time, especially at the time in Portugal. You didn't have a lot of choice, but Cooler Master was basically the only choice to a certain point if you want high performance components, and that's why I like very much. But the case game, I only like the high tier stuff. But yeah, from this CS at the moment for today, this is it. I will bring up just one gaming deal here, Marvel's Midnight Suns. It launched to like 1 month ago, give or take, and they are in promotion, $40. I've been checking this guy, Christopher Hott. He is doing a gameplay series of this game. I like seeing this guy, this very good YouTuber. He usually does this kind of games, gameplay games. I usually follow him. I will leave a description on his for his channel. When I do my XCOM 2 gameplay, I will pick up a lot of his mods that he uses on his gameplay series from XCOM 2, because I like the mods that he uses. It's like 200 plus mods, so that he's a very good YouTuber and he plays well the game. Not me, but I always try to learn to play the best I can. But yeah, this game is very good. It's more story heavy, and it goes a lot of in deep on story and cameos and references to the comics itself. But the gameplay is very addicting. The only thing that I would like to see more, it's like enemy variety. It's very based on Hydra agents and some I don't want to enter in spoilers because but like other enemies, type of more mystical enemies, I didn't see a lot of variety, but the combat itself is very, very good. It's even having like a deck building strategy to it layer in the combat. It's very, very good how they manage to balance out everything for the combat and keep it with the XCOM feeling, how you go about in the strategy layer, the combat area of the game. It's very, very good. I really, really recommend. It's on my wish list. I'm just hoping when I do all the things that I have to do to start my gameplay series, this is on my watch list for sure. And tomorrow I will try to bring you more stuff from CES. I will try to pick up a theme of everything that there. I'll probably go around a little bit on laptops, I'm not sure yet, and bring you up like the more newsworthy things for me and bring you up to date. And I will wrap up for today. It's been a long video so far. I will leave you with my GoGet funding for me to build to upgrade my PC, for me to to make more and better content for my clients, and of course in my free spare time doing what I do now, and resume my gameplay series. And this is it, guys. I hope you have a wonderful day. I will see you in the next one. So until then, Kunamy Master out.